Hi, welcome back to Robin and Cindy Unfiltered. And in today's episode, what we want to talk about is becoming more aware of how things that you experienced in your childhood could be playing out in situations at work. Robin?
Hi, I'm Robin. Welcome back. I think this is such an interesting topic because I think sometimes we might find ourselves questioning, um, how should we react? Are we reacting in a way that we did that exemplifies the same dynamic we had in our family? And it might be that you finding you are questioning how you react because maybe that little girl in your head is telling you that your comment might offend somebody. Or maybe, were you allowed to express your emotions as a child? Were you allowed to express your ideals as a child? I mean, especially if they were different to your family. How was conflict handled? Was it reasonably calm? Or were conversations explosive and there was shouting? And a lot of this may reflect how we find ourselves in our work dynamic replicating some of those things that we learned as a child. What are your thoughts about that, Cindy?
Hi, and hi, everyone. I'm Cindy. Like Robin, I'm a coach and I work with primarily professionals on just various issues that come up for them. I see this happening a lot, and I have to say that I experienced it myself when I was working because I thought, why is it that I'm always ending up in situations where the person I'm reporting to has anger issues? And I suddenly thought, that's my father and my sister. I was never comfortable with it, but that anger was comfortable. And I was uncomfortable with that. And I thought, wow, I've got to break the habit. I don't know how I was able to be so clever to find these people that exactly replicated what I was growing up with. But once becoming aware of that, I could then take a look at, how am I reacting? How can I stop reacting this way? And so when I'm working with people and they start bringing things like this up, one of the first things I will ask them is, does this in any way replicate anything from your childhood? Tell me a little bit about when you were younger. What was that like? And the light bulbs go on because they start thinking about, oh, I see the pattern here. Yes. And when we're in the moment, we don't know why we're doing something because these things that we've experienced become embedded in us and they just come out as natural. So we don't even think about, why are we reacting this way? And this is what makes these kinds of things so insidious, because we're not aware of them. So to me, a key thing is, be aware of what's going on. You don't have to stay reacting that same way. Pull yourself back, get a little perspective on this. What do you think?
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I love that experience you shared. I think as women, we've been raised to be good girls and praised for our obedience and of course our people pleasing. So when we do, when we take those qualities into perhaps our professional areas, our if professional environments, we find ourselves sort of acquiescing back to these qualities and we find ourselves agreeing, people pleasing, being obedient. And we somehow have to have this moment where we think, is that my 15-year-old self or my 5-year-old self? Or am I behaving in the way that I'd like to behave in terms of where I am and who I am? And sometimes the dynamic we recreate the dynamic that we're sort of running from, the dynamic that maybe
Mhm.
we um, experienced as children or as teens. We keep
Yeah.
replicating and finding ourselves in the same situation. And I think it's good to kind of question why, and then really dig deep and find where we can disrupt, right? Where we can disrupt, maybe our people pleasing or our obedience or our ability to allow people to not um, um, respect our boundaries. So I think there, it's looking for the disruptor to the behavior.
I love what you said there, because disruption is exactly what helps people change. And I was thinking that it's also an opportunity for us when we make a client aware of this to start working on those old issues, these things that are still going through, working through how did you feel at that time? What kind of beliefs came out of that? What's running in the back of your mind? Because you gave a wonderful list of examples of how these things can play out in the office. And another one might be, were you the one in the family that was always told to shut up? And that could then replicate itself as, oh my God, I have to give this presentation. And you're so desperate to get approval from people that you find yourselves, using your word, acquiescing to do things that aren't necessarily in your interest because it's so important to you, that knee-jerk response to want to be seen and to be heard. I think the key thing to get across to everyone that's listening to this is that these are perfect opportunities once you become aware of this and understand that when you're feeling uncomfortable or you notice these things duplicating in your life, there's something to investigate there. And then by investigating that, you pull the lid off, you take a look at it, go back to the earlier times of what that child was feeling and thinking, start resolving that, and then building in whatever it is you feel with the discussion with the client they could use to build their confidence, to give them, get past that fear of public speaking, whatever it is. It starts to go into so many different directions, and then you can see the release they feel. It's not going to be perfect straight away, but at least they'll understand, I don't have to continue feeling this way. I can get out of this pattern.
So beautifully articulated, Cindy. And I think the word that you use, I think that's so important here is investigate. Investigation and that curiosity, and leaning into that curiosity around perhaps I need to set some internal boundaries that, I'm not going to allow that person who speaks over me in the meeting to continue to do that. And maybe I'm, setting an internal boundary that I'm not going to allow that. And then learning maybe to set an external boundary to say, you know what? I value, your contribution to this meeting, but I'd like to be able to offer mine uninterrupted. Do you think that, you could allow me to do that, please? And then setting that boundary, making that request with that other person to be able to express yourself without being spoken over. And that may have been something you wanted to do, at the dinner table, and you've
Mhm.
never had an opportunity to put that right. So allowing that curiosity, that investigation, and then deciding to disrupt what it is that's been happening and take action to put it right, I think makes you more confident and disrupts the patterns that a lot of us take from our childhood into our adult lives.
I absolutely love that. A lot of food for thought for everybody that's watching this. And so we're going to wrap this up now. And all these things that we talked about are things that we'll be covering in the salon that we're holding on the 3rd of February. It's just a few weeks now from when we're filming this. And take a look at the slide that we've got at the end. First of all, please click like, subscribe. We've got so much more we want to share with you as time goes on. But if you're in London and if you're interested in this, we have an incredible opportunity to spend a day with us where we're going to be going through these things. We're only having a small, limited number of people. I think we've got about 25 so that we can really work with you in small groups, one-on-one, to get changes, to teach you these things, to make you aware of what we're doing. So thanks for joining. We look forward to talking you through again. Please investigate using that word, the salon. We would love to see you there, and we'll see you the next time. on this computer. Okay, the hair, I gotta stop playing with the hair. It's driving me nuts. Okay. Hi, welcome back to